What's up, everybody? Mike here, and in this Baldur's Gate 3 monk build guide video, I'll be going over my utility monk way to open a hand build that is based on my first playthrough as playing as a human monk. I've been doing, have a lot of fun with, and this is gonna be a level 3 build. You know, I'm doing early game, much like the other ones I've been doing here recently on the channel here. If you've checked out my Barbarian Berserker, my Tempest Cleric, and my Pyro Warlock, you know, those are level 3 type builds, and then I'll have my level 6 builds to come in the near future. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to go human with this, but that's what I just decided to do, kind of make myself in the game in a sense. So that's why I got human here as the, you know, race that I chose. And I'll be going in more depth in general about, you know, how monk works here a little bit better as far as what I suggest the background to be, your ability, character sheet, score should be like, and skills, probably focus on stuff like that before I go into the more specifics of my build type. So let's get started with race. And as I mentioned earlier, human, I think is going to be good for a monk. You know, like many other classes, humans going to fill that role. They're very versatile. They can fill pretty much any role. You're, you know, not necessarily focused on utilizing militia when it comes to like those spirit pikes hybrids, because you're using a quarterstaff usually when you're melee combat, or something similar as far as simple weapons, because that's simple weapon proficiency. So that's not going to be the main thing here feature, but you at least get the nice racial speed and human versatility. Select an additional skill to be proficient in, so that way, you know, it better suits you and so far as what skill you want to go into and select. So I feel like that's the main aspect of this, is like having that human versatility to help with the monk build, or any monk build I should say. Then this one's become like, you know, another favorite of mine, half orc. I gotta recommend, because half orcs in this game are just gonna make one of the best like races for just frontline classes. You know, I feel like, you know, where it's a paladin, a barbarian, fighter, or even a monk. So I think they're gonna make great ones because of these two race features I keep talking about. Relentless endurance. If you need to reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. So it's gonna help with survivability, keep you in the fight. You know, savage attacks when you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, your damage dice are tripled instead of doubled, which again is going to help you in dealing out more damage, eliminate your enemies, kill them quicker, essentially. So half orc is a high suggestion as being one of the best for monk class. And then I would also suggest Dragonborn, not just because of this, but like the subclasses here. If you want to do like a fire breath attack and have resistance to whatever, you know, fire breath attack you get. You got, you know, acid here, you got your electricity, your lightning, basically, you got your fire and your cold. So I think Dragonborns would be great for monks in the sense of like, yeah, with them being up close, you know, usually as a frontline character, you're going to take advantage of their breath attack in certain situations, depending on what enemies are weak to that particular element. So that's the main reason why I suggest Dragonborns there, because of that feature. You can make an argument for tieflings if you want to go a tiefling. I don't necessarily think this is like one of the best for monk per se, but if you want the hell's resistance, I would say that'd be the highlight, you know, of this race to go utilize for a monk class. So that way, you know, you have resist the fire damage and take only half damage from it. But Dragonborn, you can do a similar thing. You don't necessarily take half damage, but you can get fire resistance. So up to you on that. Now, some of you might think I'm crazy, but I want to recommend Drow as well. So Drow, because of this Drow weapon training, not because of the rapier or sword proficiency, but the hand crossbow. And reason why is, you know, in all your classes you play in this game, you're going to have to equip them with some type of range weapon, you know, to do some physical damage, including spellcasters, because you don't want to keep relying on your cantrips or your spells all the time. You know, sometimes you need to rely on physical damage, and having hand crossbow proficiency with a drow is helpful because you can have the crossbow to help you out. I use a hand crossbow with my human monk right now in my playthrough, and it's helped me out in certain situations where I need to utilize and do ranged attacks with it, because by definition or by default, a monk doesn't have really any ranged attack proficiencies or ranged, you know, doesn't focus on ranged attacking. Barbarian doesn't either, you know, and fighters typically don't either, unless you obviously go into like Eldritch Knight, which, you know, that helps you be like a hybrid build of like spellcasting and melee. So You gotta think about that. You know, ranged attacks are still important. Doing ranged combat to some degree with each class is important, as well as melee too. So that's why I think Drow it would be a good option for Monk. So at least have a nice balance out to where you can do some decent ranged attack damage with proficiency in hand crossbow. When it comes to your background and skills you want to talk about, I believe Urchin is the best one. That's what I chose for myself with the build I'll go into more details about in a bit. Urchin, because your dexterity is your primary ability, you know, where you get your damage from with Monk anyway. So you got sleight of hand here, which gives +5 to your rolls. And like I mentioned earlier, my Monk build is a utility. So you essentially can turn Monk into a utility build. And if you don't know what that means, is you know how normally your rogue or maybe your ranger is your more utility type of class where you can like use it for many situations, mainly for like lock picking, disarming traps, etc. Well, I turn my Monk into essentially that, where it can disarm traps, lockpick, pickpocket, if you will, you know, and things like that. Sleight of hand is going to help with that. Also being stealthy too, because let's say you don't go way to open hand, you want to go way to shadow, and that's essentially a ninja Monk where you can be sneaky. So I think this is the best overall one to pick for any Monk build you do, because the dexterity, you get, you know, +5 to your dex on each of these, helps with stealth. I'll slide in, especially when you are trying to, you know, be sneaky and like hide first before you get to a fight. You can't always do this first, but when you're trying to essentially get the upper hand on your enemies first by hiding first and do a grit and attack, that's going to help on your stealth. So in case you get seen real quick, your hiding still successful. For example, you could argue, you know, another one you can go for is maybe, I don't know, maybe charlatan, if you want to be like, you know, a bad Monk or deceiving type Monk. Pick up some deception here with sleight of hand, you know, to have some dex there. Criminals, well, like I said, you want, you know, to get +5 stealth there and deception. So up to you. I would say these two are the main like secondary choices, but with Urchin being the primary one. Skill wise, like I said, you can go with Urchin. Gets your acrobatics in here as well to help you out, and athletics. That's going to be very important to keep in there, because, you know, with this Monk, you're going to be dashing a lot, usually jumping around a lot to get to certain positions to get the upper hand on your enemies. Yes, you're a frontliner class 2 in character with being a Monk, but you also want to be able to, you know, utilize Monk in other situations to either get to high places or get down below. And that's because that's what I've done in my build here too. I'll get more details in a bit. So I think these are going to be really good to utilize. If you want to swap out the skill of something else, up to you. But I think this is a well-rounded balance for Monk. I should say any subclass of Monk. So here, when it comes to the ability score character sheet, and what I decided to go with is, obviously I don't use the recommended. Usually I try to figure out my own way to make all the stats even. Starting off because you get benefits when they're even, not odd. So strength I got at 10. Dexterity, which is your primary ability here, I got a 16 instead of 17. You can always improve this with ability improvement if you want in the future, or a different feat or equipment. Constitution, since a frontline character, you know, want to have the Constitution high at 16 to help with the health pool, have some higher tankiness to it, higher life. Intelligence got at 8. Don't need to worry about that. You're not using magic spells, anything like that. So yeah, left that alone there. I want to keep that the lowest it could be. Wisdom, I got a 14 because wisdom is the sort of second ability a Monk focuses on with saving throws, because you have saving throws with wisdom and dexterity. So I decided to put that at 14. Charisma, I got at 10. Since you're not really handling dialogue situations a ton, or not the primary dialogue specialist, charisma is not going to be as beneficial. But if you want to swap these out and maybe do that, you could. If you want to make charisma 14 instead of wisdom, up to you. But I feel like this is the more better balance of abilities here. Now to go into the specifics of my level 3 utility Monk way the open hand build. I'll be also bringing you guys a level 6 version just so you guys can see the evolution progression of this build in the works here. And you're going to notice some equipment I have here that you'll get later on, not necessarily early on. That looks a little weird. Don't worry about it. You should be able to find it in the game. Anyway, so first up, level 1, flurry of blows. You get this as an action. It's a class action, punch twice, a quick session. It's a bonus action, and use the resource key points to utilize it. You also get the class feature key, which is your resources mentioned here that allows you to utilize your bonus actions when it comes to your monk specific abilities. And then unarmored defense. Your reflexes are as effective as any armor. While not wearing armor, you add your wisdom modifier to your armor class. So that's why I was, stressing earlier in the ability sheet there. You want to get your wisdom to 14. You can't get above that early on off the bat. So the highest you can get is 14. So that's going to really help with your defenses when it comes to your armor class to keep you alive longer. And then you got martial arts, dexterous attacks, attacks with monk weapons, and unarmed attacks scale with your dexterity instead of your strength. Your dexterity is high. If your dexterity is higher. So this is a dexterity build. It's not a strength build. If you want to go strength monk, you can. There is that option. You don't have to. So keep that in mind. You got martial arts, death strikes, attacks with monks, weapons, and unarmed attacks deal 1 to 4 bludgeoning damage unless their normal damage is higher. So, gonna be very cool to utilize at level 1 here to help you get some decent damage out early on. And then you got martial arts bonus unarmed strike. After making an attack with a monk weapon or while unarmed, you can make another unarmed attack as a bonus action. More attacks is better. That's what's so great about monk class. It has so many ways you can do some bonus attacks and get some extra damage in once you build up right and as you level up. At level 2 here, you will pick up additional key points. You also get unarmored movement. Your movement speed increases by 3 meters while you are not wearing armor or using a shield. Very important. So you do not want to use any armor or shield. That's going to affect your armor class. And you see I have like an armor or sort of piece of equipment on my arms and my feet. That's technically not armor per se, though. It's more so if you have it with your chest piece, because there's clothing here. It's just clothing that will give you bonuses and buffs to certain things when it comes to your class. So keep that in mind. It's not always necessarily armor, and that's what I got there with that. That you see with the arms and the feet. But yeah, actions you pick up is patient defense. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and you have advantage on dexterity saving throws. This is for 1 turn. It's a bonus action. Uses your key if you decide to use it. You get step of the wind dash and step of the wind disengage. So with dash, you double your movement speed. Jump no longer requires a bonus action. This is for 1 turn. It's a bonus action. Use your key. Same with this. Bonus action, 1 turn. But with disengage, though, you retreat safety by disengaging. Jump no longer requires a bonus action. So this is basically better than a regular disengage or a regular dash because it's monk specific, meaning, you basically can go longer, get away out of situations you need to better with utilizing this, essentially. And at level 3, this is when you can choose your subclass. You're going to go into Way of the Open Hand, which gives you Flurry of Blows, Topple, Punch twice, quick session. You possibly knock the target prone. Very good. I utilize this a lot in my combat situations when I can, because when you knock them prone and you have that extra attack you can do. Once you get that, you can do some more damage, or it helps out if you have an ally right near you to help you essentially double team that same enemy you just toppled and made prone on the ground, and essentially can do full damage to them, because when enemies prone, they can't defend themselves. Now the same goes for you, obviously, because you can get prone too, but yeah. Enemies cannot defend themselves when prone. You will not miss either. You'll essentially do the highest damage, especially if you have some crit, in your build. Yeah, you're going to do usually the maximum damage, if not close to maximum damage every time. Flurry of Blows, Stagger, Plunge twice, quick session, and stagger the target, making it able to take reactions. This is also good for certain situations where you need them not to react. If you're trying to maybe double team movement in a closer ally, help you out to either get up behind them or essentially, move them away, whatever have be. And you got certain characters that will have reaction, abilities. So you stagger it, anything that debuffs it, enemies helps out. And this is very important to help debuff an enemy in certain situations. Flurry of Blows, Push. This is very good if you want to, knock off enemy off an edge, off a roof or something like that, to where that fall will kill them, or at least do a lot of damage to them in that particular situation. So I've utilized this quite a bit in those situations when I need to. I use this probably maybe, I don't know, these are probably my secondary I use the most. I definitely use Topple the most because with Monk being a frontliner, there's not too many situations where, at least yet anyway, where I've had to utilize push to knock off enemies. Considering I got allies, I can do that, like Will, for example. I got an Eldritch Blast, and I got the way I built him up. He used Eldritch Blast to push him off and do damage. So, yeah, I typically don't use this as much. I'm mostly using this, and in certain situations, I'll use Stagger. This is probably third. When it comes to the equipment of the Monk here, you'll notice I have some stuff that you won't necessarily get probably by the time you're level 3, you get later on. First being Line Breaker Boots. You'll pick this up much later on, like after level 3, as long as you're exploring pretty much everything. So you're going to be okay with sticking to your default gear set for the most part with Monk anyway, up to level 3. So yeah, I would add this in here later on, and because when I go into my level 6 build video, you'll see the evolution of what I decided to call that build and what it turns into. So like I said, if you got the regular default stuff, that's fine. Keep your most default robes as well too is just fine. I'll say the one you want to pick up if you can ASAP, utilize Bracers of Defense. This is gonna give you Bulwark. Become the Bulwark. You gain a +2 bonus to armor class as long as you are not wearing armor or holding a shield. This to me is perfect for the Monk. Helps to get your armor class to 18 as well too. With this, so in just help you being more of a tanky frontliner character in the game too, so you can take damage, dodge it, etc. When it comes to the weapons here, you're going to stick to a quarterstaff. Now, obviously, I have a uncommon version of the quarterstaff, but if you have a default one, that's fine. But you can find a uncommon version, get it. You don't necessarily have to get this one, but this is one you can utilize. It's going to get you through with your level 3 build as a Monk. And even this, I'm still utilizing at level 6 for the time being with Monk. And then you want to have a ranged weapon. Get you a crossbow. You can have a common one. Get you an uncommon one as soon as you can, though, to help you out, do more damage, and be more effective from range. Because you will, at some situations, need to do ranged combat with a crossbow as a Monk. And then as long as you're exploring fine, you'll get Smuggler's Ring. I would suggest utilize this if you're, with the playstyle I'm going with. I've had my Monk as a utility Monk, where I can lockpick, disarm traps, etc. This is going to help very much with that, with a sleight of hand +2, and be a bit more stealthy with the +2 to stealth as well. So very important you get this to utilize with this build. Nothing else you see yet here from your jewelry or amulets though. Nothing else here yet. But I'll keep you guys updated with this build as it progresses though. And equipment wise, that's pretty much it. I've already gone over, skills, where to have your character sheet, your class actions you gain, etc. So hopefully this is very helpful to you and informative, and you're enjoying this. Like I said, I'll be doing these builds at level 3s, every level 3.
Damn, the Deflect Missile is so good.
Got that to look forward to. Stay tuned. I will have my level 6 build video up soon of this, and we'll get my level 9 out when I'm able to, and then the in-game max of level 12 of this build. You'll see the progression of it. I cannot wait to show you guys. As always, thank you for watching and all your support. I'll see you next time.